Hey guys, this is James from TeaDB.
This is Denny, and we are doing episode 25.
Yep, and we got another tea from Camellia Sinensis, and I'll be honest, this one has been my favorite, and I think it's a really, really good tea.
Yeah.
It's a Pu'erh from 2001. We studied this a little bit. We talked with one of our friends, our tea friends, and we think this is wet stored, comes apart real easily, not nearly as compressed as some of your factory cakes like Dai or Shaguan.
Right.
But really, really nice tea.
Really beautiful, wonderfully aged, really fluffy leaves, unique, gorgeous leaves too. Wow,
Yep.
Yeah,
And
I'm stoked.
I'll be honest, I don't know all that much about this tea's origins or whatnot. And of course, tons of political history with China, especially when you're talking about like the time period of like 2001 and stuff. So it's from 2001. We think it's wet stored, and presumably from Yunnan because that's where Pu'erh comes from.
And when you say wet stored, what do you mean by that?
I mean, it was probably stored in a little bit more like Kunming, the area that Pu'erh is usually grown from, has traditional dry storage. But of course, a lot of Pu'erh people bought their tea, brought it to Hong Kong, which has a more humid climate than Kunming, and Taiwan also, big Pu'erh place. Not in the sense of growing it, but in terms of collecting it and stuff. And that also has a more humid environment. So there's a couple different schools of storage. We'll be covering those later on in TeaDB, hopefully in article form.
Cool.
But that's what I mean.
Yeah, and so just to clarify one more time, really the dry versus wet is just a product of the humidity that the cake itself is stored at.
Yep. And I mean, like, it's kind of like wine stuff. You could have like a separate room to prevent the natural conditions of the environment that you're in.
Right.
All right. So this cake comes apart real easily. So for that reason, we're only going to do one rinse because we think was pretty clean to begin with as well.
Yeah.
Especially for a Pu'erh cake.
Really high quality. Hardly any tea dust or anything like that. I mean, even just the strainer itself, it's really clear looking. Really some really high quality tea. It's been taken care of, really preserved well. So, and we're getting a nice, beautiful orange, kind of like a peach orange color, off of the first.
Yep. And so we are using
rinse.
about 8 grams of leaf,
Right.
and this Yixing teapot is 120 milliliters, so pretty small. A strong leaf to water ratio, which is kind of my preferred choice for Pu'erh. And so I just pretty much, my method for both raw and ripe Pu'erh, stuff the pot and steep it for no time until you're not getting much flavor out of it.
Wow. Beautiful smell. Aroma, really strong. Yeah, I mean, I was going to ask, in terms of the Pu'erh brewing style.
Yeah. I want to have a note on that.
Let's get in here. Wonderful. Have you experimented with other styles with the older cakes that we've tasted, or?
Not really, honestly. I use more or less the same style, and I've been pretty satisfied with the results, to be honest.
Yeah.
Yeah. So let's have a taste.
Cheers. Wow.
Yeah.
Like 2 seconds in there, it is sweet somehow.
Sweet fruitiness.
Yeah. So
smooth for it. Like I mean, probably the most common raw cakes we drink are just like, oh,
it's a kick in the face.
it's like an energetic kick to the face.
Yeah.
But I mean, like, this is nice. This aged quickly because it was wetly stored. I guess you could say that's the main difference between that and dry storage. And it's just so smooth.
Yeah, it really is. And for those of you who have had raw Pu'erh before, the most distinctive flavor and taste out of the raw Pu'erh is going to be that kind of petrol, gasoline-y, mineral taste.
Especially if it's young and some of the
Especially if it's young. And we're still getting that in here, but it's just on the nose of it, and it's just at the very front. And then the rest of it is this like beautiful blend of sweet, of fruits.
Yeah.
maybe like a little bit.
Really nice mouthfeel,
Floral.
and for the Darjeeling, I was talking about a little bit sweetness lingering in the mouth, and I think you have that even more defined for this tea.
This is a wonderful, especially so the body is unbelievable out of a first steeping on a Pu'erh.
Yep.
Just insane. And that's, I think, largely a product of the quality of the leaf. The fact that the leaf itself was loosely packed and wet stored is going to accelerate the aging process, the process of fermentation, dramatically.
Yep, indeed. The tea that ages probably the worst and most slowly, well, if we're talking about compression methods, are the chul chas, the mushrooms, because they are so compressed. So you see that the color we're getting is now a little bit more orange, a little bit darker, and that's consistent with what we've gotten from previous sessions with this tea.
Absolutely. And I think we'll expect to really see an increase in the viscosity of this with the steeping.
Yep. And this tea, do not give up on it early. It's quite wonderful, and my favorite steepings are probably 3rd, 4th, and 5th. I've steeped this out probably 12, 14 times. Very good.
Just reheat the hot water, boil it up again, and keep going.
Very simple. Extend the time if you are losing some of that flavor. Even stronger sweetness, honestly, on the front end.
Yeah, beautiful complexity, and it's teas like this that make me love Pu'erh, because it still has the very characteristic foundational tastes of Pu'erh tea, of raw Pu'erh specifically.
Which is good in its own right.
Yeah, I love it. Yeah. In certain contexts, I love drinking raw Pu'erh, but beyond that, there's this beautiful complexity in the form of this tea and the taste that just amazing.
Flavors. And one of the teas we reviewed previously in the show was the 1999 Hua Yuan from Yunnan Sourcing, and you could taste some of the ripeness in that a little bit. And for this tea, I'm not getting any of that.
Zero tannin, no bitterness. Can already feel the chachi, the tea energy itself, really livening me up, especially with raw Pu'erhs. This is a raw Pu'erh that also, some raw Pu'erh for some reason really immediately gets my stomach going. And I haven't had a lot of food today, but actually this is sitting really well for me.
Indeed, yeah. I mean, for aged tea, well-aged tea, and this one is well-aged, especially considering it was wetly stored, much, much easier on your stomach than young raw Pu'erh, for sure.
Yeah, this is beautiful.
Yeah. When would you drink this tea?
Something as special as this, I think, would actually deserve a true sit-down. It wouldn't be a casual brew. It's something where I would sit down with someone like you or a close friend and really be present for the tea. It's not something that I would drink casually at all. By itself, definitely a standalone. And
not to stop you guys from immediately going out and buying this tea, it is quite expensive. I will say that. I did check it out on Camellia Sinensis' site, and it is expensive, but it is also very, very good.
It's a treat, and with all things, every once in a while you order a really fancy cocktail and you switch it up from your gross rainier beer that you always drink, and every once in a while you go up real high with your tea connoisseurship and opting for something a little bit.
I can't believe you just knocked vitamin R. You just knocked vitamin R on our tea podcast.
Okay. Wow.
I'm gonna go pound 5 of those.
Okay, great. That's a good endorsement for TeaDB.
Yeah.
How about you, James? So what if you weren't, let's say, gonna drink this with a close friend? What do you think this would pair well with?
I would honestly drink this tea any time that I am not broke, because it's good. It's really good. Like, if I had the option to drink this tea or similarly aged Pu'erh once a day, I would. I would probably not drink my daily drinkers. Right. Because this tea is very good.
Yeah. It really is. And, just to contrast this thank you very much, from other types of tea, if you wanted something sweet and floral, if you wanted something fruity, if you wanted something nutty, you're going to try different oolong teas. If you want something a little bit more bitter and chocolatey, you might try some black teas. Yep. If you want something really vegetal and fresh, maybe some green teas. This has its own unique place. But that being said, I'm not necessarily always a Pu'erh guy every day, but this is one of those teas where I could be.
Yep.
Yeah.
Totally.
Really, really good.
All right. So, where could you find out more about this tea?
Well, believe it or not, TeaDB.org. That's TeaDatabase. That's been a question. .org.
Not tea douchebags.
Yes, is a great place to find a lot of information. James has written a lot about Taiwanese oolong particularly, and we have a bunch of TeaDB episodes all about different types of teas. So check us out, tdb.org. Follow us on YouTube, youtubes.com/tdborg.
Yep, and please check out Camellia Sinensis as well.
Yeah.
Been very impressed with the teas they've sent us.
And really appreciate the offerings. And if you guys have some offerings for us to check out on the show, please let us know at any place we've mentioned so far.
Yep. All right.
Cool.
Thanks for watching, guys.
Yeah, cheers.